In my country, writing means, hello, I exist and I have a different opinion.
For me, writing is something that gives me power, it gives me the voice.
Journalist Itai Mushekwe from Zimbabwe and writer Faraj Sarkozy from Iran are two writers from two different generations who had to flee their homeland. They found refuge in Germany with the aid of the Writers in Exile program. Faraj Sarkozy was one of the first scholarship holders. He's now lived in Frankfurt for 10 years. From here, he's been observing the presidential election in Iran and the ensuing protests with interest, but without surprise. The violent suppression of freedom of speech has a sad tradition in his homeland, he says. He thinks the chances of democracy taking hold are slim. Sarkozy was one of Iran's most famous novelists. In his books, he combined Western narrative traditions with Iranian mythology and criticized the mullah's tyranny and censorship. As a result, he was condemned to death and spent 9 years in jail.
One form of torture that they practice in prison is to say, you will be executed today, hanged. They put the noose around your neck, and just before the end, they say it was a mistake, and they're giving you 2 or 3 more days to live.
International protests led to Faraj Sarkozy being released in the late 1990s. In Germany, the Writers in Exile program helped him, providing him with counseling and financial support. But there were still difficulties.
You have to get to know a new society, a new language at my age, and you have to establish a new life. And the biggest problem for writers in exile, for me, is that you lose your own language and your audience.
Current and former scholarship holders meet once a year. They read from their latest writings, make contact with translators, and exchange information. Many writers in other parts of the world can only dream of such freedoms. In 2008 alone, some 200 critical writers and journalists were put on trial and almost 20 put to death. The Writers in Exile program was established in 1990 to assist writers fleeing persecution. The German Penn Center program was set up 10 years ago.
During the Nazi era, a host of artists, writers, and scientists were obliged to seek refuge from persecution and were exiled to other countries. And with this program, we're paying off part of the debt of gratitude that arose from that.
25-year-old Itai Mushekwe is one of the current scholarship holders and has been living in Cologne for a year. He cannot return to his native Zimbabwe. He uncovered a corruption scandal in government circles close to President Robert Mugabe and has been on a Secret Service blacklist ever since.
Practicing journalism in Zimbabwe is literally like walking in a landmine. It's dangerous. The media is under this oppressive influence from the political establishment. Only a few weeks ago, the editor of a paper I used to work for and the news editor were arrested.
And that's what would happen to Itai Mushekwe should he return home. Here in Germany, he publishes on the internet and writes for Zimbabwean media abroad. The official Writers in Exile program lasts for 12 months. Then many writers apply for asylum in Europe. Itai Mushekwe will probably have to take this route as well.
It's not easy being away. I've got a son who's only 1 year, and no father would want to be away from their child. The basic dream is definitely to go back home. Probably setting up more media outlets and people have more choices, you know, to listen to what they want to listen, to read what they want to read.
Faraj Sarkohi and Itai Mushekwe, two writers from two very different countries, united in their courage not to give up. Free, yet no longer able to go home. It's a high price to pay for being able to write what they want.